the opening race of the Cooper Tires Grand Prix of Toronto here at the Honda Indy Toronto for the drivers in USF Pro 2000, filled with chaos. We started on the dries, the rain came, we went to the wets, and it was wild for sure to the very end. We're going to get ready to do it again here today in Toronto as we get set to go on this 1.7 mile 11 turn road course. My name is Rob Howden, the voice of the USF Pro Championships presented by Cooper Tires. And joining me for the pre-race today, a driver who's been very impressive coming out of the GP3 Series, Joel Granforce, the Swedish driver for Exclusive Autosport. Joel, you came over here, St. Petersburg, your first time ever on a street circuit. Toronto, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I like it a bit more than St. Pete because St. Pete was starting all the way back from in all the races, and now I'm all the way up in the front. And you know, it's a bit of a tricky track, first time here as well for me. So it's a bit to get used to, especially with all the you go from pavement then onto concrete, then back to pavement and concrete again. You know, so it's a lot of different surfaces. Yeah. So it's a bit tricky, but I'm getting used to it now.
Let's talk about the whole season. You came in here for the first time. St. Petersburg was obviously the first race. How do you feel? You more comfortable, number one, with the Cooper tires, number two, with the car as we go into the second half of the season?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a completely different tires from last year. Last year was Pirelli, and now the Cooper tires. So just getting used to the tire and the car, you know, it's a different car as well. So, but we got used to that pretty quickly, I think, and managed to get a few good races before Indianapolis, and then you know, the race finally came and we won that one. So
yeah, obviously a winner at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for sure in that great run. Joel, let's talk about Toronto now. Yesterday's race, of course, dry, the rain came. Obviously learning the track in the dry is one thing. What was it like in the wet?
Yeah, I mean, it was completely different. You know, we watched some rain footage from before we went out because we were expecting a bit of rain, but when we were out there I thought it's going to be dry the whole session, but then it started spitting down, then the safety car came out, and then it just started to come a lot of it, you know. So I was a bit sketchy, you know, even going behind the safety car. But then we pitted off the red flag for wets, and yeah, from there I was just trying to survive, you know. There was 5 laps left, so.
Expectations for today, is the podium you're focusing on? Is it race winning? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, it started from P7. You know, I started P6 last time and it went well, so I think podium is of course the goal, and I think we can get there. So
the drivers from Exclusive Autosport looked very good yesterday, both in the dry and the wet. Look for Joel Granforce to work his way from the inside of row number 4, P7. He could find his way onto the podium, maybe even a race win if we get more chaos as we did yesterday here in USF Pro 2000. Joel and the rest of the drivers getting set to go. After this break, we'll come back. I'll give you the full driver lineup.
We're like any normal family. We just get shorter wait times because we buy and book online at discounttire.com.
So easy.
Which gives us more time for things like...
Come on, Mom.
Ready? And it's all thanks to Kyle. Thank you. Get 30% shorter average wait time when you buy and book online at discounttire.com.
Let's get you taken care of.
Here on the USF Pro Championships app or YouTube channel, and to those of you sitting around the racetrack following up the IndyCar warm-up session, we are set to go with the drivers who you may see in that IndyCar program in just a couple of years. USF Pro 2000 presented by Cooper Tires on the pit lane and getting ready to fire things up. Indeed, these drivers following in the footsteps, ideally, of competitors like Kyle Kirkwood, Pato O'Ward, Renus VK, all who have moved through this program. You add Stingray Robb in there as a former champion of this USF Pro 2000 category, and we, again, have 19 drivers set to go about 4 minutes from firing the engines on pit lane to get things underway. So let's take that time to jump into the grid and have a look at where they'll start here for the Cooper Tires Grand Prix of Toronto. Starting in the 19th spot out of California, Lindsey Brewer in the C4 Smart Energy number 93 machine for Exclusive Autosport. She'll be 19th. Row up to row number 9, Nicholas Monteiro, the Brazilian, in the number 81 for Neotech Motorsports, set to roll off from 18th alongside Monteiro. From Carmel, Indiana, it will be Jack William Miller in the Miller Vinatieri Motorsports red and white number 40 machine. He'll launch again from P17. Moving up to row number 8 on the outside from Delafield, Wisconsin, a former USF 2000 race winner, joined us here in the booth yesterday for the USF 2000 race. Yuvan Sundaramurthy for Exclusive Autosport in the number 90, starting 16th. Alongside him, Ricardo Escoto, a winner earlier this year on the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Mexican for Jay Howard Driver Development, piloting the number 4. Row number 7, one of the Canadians in the field here this weekend, Lucas St. Jean out of Quebec, Canada, in that number 3 for Turn 3 Motorsports. He'll start in the 14th spot, only his third weekend here in the category. Alongside him, Bejoy Garg out of Atherton, California. Birthday yesterday for Bejoy for D-Force Racing, the number 7 driver rolling off from P13. Row number 6, we've got an Irishman and a Mexican on the outside. From Ireland, Jonathan Brown, the number 2 for Turn 3 Motorsports. He'll start 12th. Inside, Salvador de Alba, second place yesterday here on the streets of Toronto, a winner earlier this year as well on the oval at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. De Alba in the number 91 for Exclusive Autosport, starting just outside the top 10 in 11th. Speaking of that top 10, let's move there now. Row number 5 on the outside, the Italian Francesco Pizzi for TJ Speed, looking for that first win. Could it come here today? He'll start 10th with the number 55. And alongside him, the Brazilian, a former USF 2000 champion, Kiko Porto for D-Force Racing in the number 12. We'll go now to row number 4 on the outside. Rookie driver in this program here after a couple years of USF 2000 out of Illinois, Christian Weir on the number 32 for TJ Speed. He'll start 8th. Alongside the Swedish driver Joel Grandforce, a winner as well at Indianapolis earlier this year on the road course there. The number 92 of Grandforce, now second place in points. He will start from the inside of row number 4. Row 3 will have Liram Zendelli, the German, in the number 10 for TJ Speed. Finished third yesterday after a tremendous run in the tough, wet conditions. He'll start 6th. Alongside him, out of Santa Clarita, California, a winner earlier this season in the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg down in Florida. Has not had the budget to continue the season, but a one-off race here in the middle for the number 44 of Christian Brooks for Turn 3 Motorsports. Brooks and Zendelli starting on row number 3. We'll go to row number 2 right now. Jace Denmark out of Arizona in the number 20 for Pabst Racing. Jace, one of the championship proponents last year in the USF 2000 program, has had an up-and-down season so far this year in this USF Pro category, but a very talented driver out of Scottsdale. The Pabst Racing number 20 will start 4th. Inside of that row, the driver who was able to take advantage of a minor miscue from the point leader Miles Rowe, Michael D'Orlando of Hartsdale, New York for Turn 3 Motorsports, has been turning the season around here midway through. He has now won a race at the last 3 events: Road America, Mid-Ohio, and here at Toronto. It's at least one win in those last 3 events. He'll try to see if he can't cap off the doubleheader here with a win. He'll start on the inside of row number 2. Being told 3 minutes, but a hold right now as the AMR IndyCar safety crew around the racetrack, making sure things are clean and ready to go. We will finish off the grid, though, with 2 drivers on the front row. It's an all Pabst Racing front row, and I've talked about this young driver out of Illinois, Jordan Missing in the number 19. Very strong here last year. Of course, back for the second season here in USF Pro 2000. Missing on the outside in the Racing for Mental Health number 19 machine. Almost grabbed the pole position. The margin just under 0.2 of a second, but the driver who will lead them to the green flag coming out of turn number 11 from Brooklyn, New York, your current point leader for Pabst Racing and Force Indy, Miles Rowe in the number 99. Going to take them down to the green flag. Rowe and Missing will be on row 1. D'Orlando and Denmark row 2. Brooks and Zendelli row 3. Grandforce and Weir on row 4. Porto and Pizzi on row number 5. Row 6 will have De Alba alongside Brown. Garg and St. Jean on row 7. Scotto and Sundaramurthy row 8. Miller and Montiero row 9. And Brewer on row number 10. Just had a look there at Miles Rowe. This is Jordan Missing in the Pabst Racing number 99 as he gets set to roll off his first front row start in his USF Pro Championships career. There's the scholarship colors right there of Michael D'Orlando winning the USF 2000 championship last year and over $400,000 to move up to this program here. Everybody chasing the scholarship to move to Indy next here in USF Pro 2000. That will be $664,000. Quick little check-in about 3 minutes away. Joining me in the booth today, we'll start with Todd Lewis, the voice of this Honda Indy Toronto. Matt Clark as well, the driver for D-Force Racing in USF 2000. Todd, let's start with you. We've had some wild action. We've had, essentially, we haven't had a full dry session yet. It was, we was first wet to dry to wet, a full wet session for USF 2000. Slick Cooper Tires here for USF Pro.
Yes, everybody on the slicks heading out for racing, and I think with the Indy cars that were out on track for their 30-minute warm-up session, that should have pretty much removed any of the remaining moisture that was still in this racetrack. So even the slippery concrete sections should be pretty dry. So I think we're in for another exciting race. The USF Pro Championships have not disappointed us even during the practice sessions today. We've had plenty of drama all throughout the race.
Super busy weekend for young Matt Clark, who joined me on a pre-show broadcast last year as a USF Juniors driver. Your first time able to race here on the streets of Toronto. An up-and-down weekend for you. You battled for podium positions all weekend long. Some contact took you out of that last one, running for third. Overall, you happy with the weekend?
I would say so. Definitely some mixed emotions there.
Yeah.
Tough time of it in race 2, but super excited, racing for my friends and family this weekend. And overall, I'd say it was definitely a really positive experience.
And the bottom line is you got that first Streets of Toronto in the books.
100%. And to kind of get like the feel of what it's like to race at home, because it's very busy as a driver. You're kind of being pulled in 18 different directions the time, and you have to make sure you're in the right headspace to go out there and do your job.
That's it. We'll have Mac on the broadcast throughout the race here. He's run a couple of races here. He's going to be really good insight for us to analyze what we see as it happens on the racetrack. Again, we are within a couple of minutes of firing things up. These drivers here all on the Tatis chassis, the elite engines in the back of them, 250 horsepower, Cooper tires all the way around. Comparing USF 2000, if you were here early, to the drivers here in USF Pro, more of everything, more horsepower, more tires. The tires are wider, more downforce, more braking capability, more of everything. So indeed, folks, getting set to get rolling here with the USF Pro 2000 category presented by Cooper Tires as we get set to fire things up. Again, excited to have 19 drivers in the field, the largest field we've had in this category in over a decade. Lots of great momentum for this USF Pro Championships. All right, folks, let's get things underway right now as it's time to fire up the engines and to give the command to start. Waiting for us down on pit lane, the manager of commercial sellout for Goodyear, Canada, Alex Uzalek.
On behalf of Cooper Tires, drivers, start your engines!
And there we go, firing them up again. Each one of these drivers will get things underway, firing up the engines. Let's go quickly here to Matt Clark. Matt, because I want to get your thought. You hear that words. Maybe you can hear it in the car, maybe you can't. Over the radio, they're telling you to fire up. What's your mindset before you roll out?
I think almost it goes blank. As a driver, you try not to think too much when they're pre-grid. You don't want to get too stressed out, but definitely once you start the engine, you kind of lock it in, and it's just 100% focused on racing. You're kind of going through your motions, right? Everyone has their own different procedure. On the first lap, get the tires warm, put some brake in her, and get ready for that green flag.
That's it. Talk about warming the tires up, warming the brakes up, everything.
Do you play out possible scenarios for corner number 1 as you're on the pace lap and thinking about the start of the race?
I try not to, because it's very rare that those scenarios do happen. I try to be, very in the moment and try to make my decision on track then and there.
Every driver will tell you that. You don't want to lock yourself into a strategy. If this happens, I'm going to do this. It's really kind of fly-by-wire. You have to see what's happening, and maybe that's a big part of becoming a race car driver. All the way through your karting when you were younger, drivers moving into whatever it may be, F1600, into Skip Barber, into our USF Juniors program. That's really what you're learning, how you react to what happens into Turn 1.
It is, and I think the great drivers are always really good at adapting. Whether it's the conditions on track or it's a situation that you put yourself in, somehow they always manage to make it work out for them.
There you have it. Again, good insight from Matt Clark for D-Force Racing, driver to Campbellville, Ontario. Local boy, his big race here. Again, last year he was a spectator. This year, able to experience it for himself, running up front and vying for podium positions, and looking forward, of course, to getting back to the next edition in 2024. For now, he'll enjoy the booth here with us to call this USF Pro 2000 race. And, of course, after that, we look forward to the Honda Indy Toronto, where so many young drivers who have come up through this USF Pro Championship, the series formerly known as the Road to Indy, developed drivers like Kyle Kirkwood, Pato O'Ward. We saw Felix Rosenquist there as well. Felix coming through the Indy Lights program, which is now Indy Next. Rinus VeeKay, a former champion in this USF Pro category as well. Stingray Robb, as I said, David Malukas. So many young drivers have come through this class. In fact, in past iterations of the program, Graham Rahal, Marco Andretti as well, all ran in what was then the Star Mazda Championship. So, working the way around, this is where we see the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series, and a fantastic opportunity to get them rolling here, right before the noon hour. I know the fans starting to fill up the grandstands around this racetrack. Not a seat to be had here at the Honda Indy Toronto, trying to fire things up. They'll stack them and pack them coming out of turn number 9, 10, and 11. Rowe and Missing on the front row. All Pabst Racing. T. Orlando and Denmark, row 2. Brooks and Delhi, row 3. Grand Force and Weir, row 4. Porto and Pizzi, row 5. Rolling onto the throttle. Time to get things underway. A 30-lapper. Lining them up on turn number 11, and we are green, green, green. Down in to turn number 1. Who will be the first driver to get to the apex? Low line there for the number 99 to the inside. Big run around the outside for Jace Denmark. Does he make it work? He does. He'll slot into second. Big connection there. Weir, Grand Force. Brown gets caught up. Escoto as well. Christian Weir into the wall on the outside of turn number 1. And that will bring out a full course yellow. That was back, I believe, in 7th, 8th. And then who else? Pizzi, potentially. I think he may have got through. They'll fight their way through turn number 3. Will stay green, at least to allow these drivers to kind of shuffle up, probably over to turn number 8. And then we'll go full course. Drivers into turn number 5. Out front row, getting a good jump. But Jace Denmark, a fantastic start from the outside of row number 2. There's your full course caution. We'll stack the field. And this is why. Christian Weir in the TJ Speed number 32 and Joel Grandforce in the exclusive Onsport 92. Grandforce second place in points. Again, just like we saw at USF 2000, this playing into the hands of Miles Rowe.
Exactly what he did not want to see happen. 3 and 4 wide I saw heading into corner number 1. A terrific move by Jace Denmark, as you talked about, being able to jump up. We're going to get a look at a replay of that start, crossing the start-finish line and heading into corner number 1, just to see how that contact evolved. And here it is coming out of corner number 1, and it's just, that was some significant contact in the back from the 92 car of Joel Grandforce, who got into the 32.
I'm feeling, and we'll have a look at this again. Obviously, Matt Clark's had a chance to have a look at that. Escoto in the back, Brown with nowhere to go. It seems to me that was probably wheel-to-wheel contact. Mac, you'll have a look at when they play this again, because it seems like Weir was trying to round the outside. It was almost 3 wide. I don't know that the outside's the best place to be 3 wide. Let's have a look at it again, Mac. Walk us through this.
That run into turn 1 is so enticing. The track is very wide. Yeah, it looks like Grand Force there on the inside, just maybe got a little wide and into Weir, wheel-to-wheel contact. It usually doesn't end well on cars like this.
Yeah, the minute those wheels touch, you can see it go over. Look at that shot in the back. That is actually, I believe, St. Jean. He drives over the top of his teammate, Jonathan Brown. So is there issue for the right rear of Jonathan Brown? Because big contact with his teammate St. Jean. So we'll watch as they work their way back around. St. Jean looks like he has not come back around. Neither, of course, is Weir or Grand Force. So there's St. Jean coming out of turn number 6. So that right front damage as he climbed over the back of his teammate's car. And Mac, the Canadian, grimacing for your countrymen. You know how important it is for you to have a good run here in Toronto, right? This is your home race. The only time you get to run north of the border. And for Lucas St. Jean, an issue yesterday, backs up with another one here today. Tough.
For the Canucks, you definitely want to show well on the streets of Toronto. You know, we usually have a lot of supporters here, so it's important to do well at the home race. So I feel for Luca on that one. So, yeah,
Luca was kind of coming through there near the end. He started back in 14th and kind of got into the end of that one there. Really no fault of his own, just trying to get back through the corner.
It's difficult. I'll get Mac to weigh in on this too, but when something is happening ahead of you, especially at the start of the race, you're trying, it's because it's a great opportunity to make up positions. There's simply no reaction time or not enough reaction time to avoid collisions sometimes.
Yeah, you're right on that, Todd. Sometimes it's almost impossible. It just happens like you're snapping your fingers that fast. And on a street course like this, there's not really a lot of room to work with either.
Listen, every time we do the track walk, wherever you are around, you'll see that the track looks fairly wide when you're watching it on the TV or on the monitors. When you do the track walk, you're like, oh, how do they get 3 Indy cars through here? And our car's a little smaller than the Indy cars. That particular corner, turn number 3, on the exit's very, very narrow, right? Coming back over to turn number 2. So to try to go 3 wide, Weir on the outside was kind of rolling the dice. There was drivers on the inside of Grand Force. He was pushing through. Cold tires, and again, at that point, you're actually rolling back onto the. You've made into the corner, you've transitioned. So a driver like St. Jean, he's just rolling back onto the power. Hard for you then to make a move and pinch it down to the bottom. Correct?
Yeah, definitely. And it's so tight down there, right? You get up on the curb and you go to power, and maybe there's a bit of oversteer right there in that moment, and it can cause a big accident such as that.
Again, Matt Clark giving us some insight there, but the bottom line is this. Joel Grandforce in the 92, Christian Weir in the 32, and Lucas St. Jean in the number 3. Involved in the incident. They were started at 19. There is now 16 drivers remaining on the racetrack. Jonathan Brown, who I talked to on the way over, was saying he started 12th. He needed 11 accidents. And I said, I'll see what I can do for you, but you're going to have to stay out of them him, and he did not at this point. Had to catch up. He'll be lucky if he doesn't have any damage to the right rear of the car. And there's Brown right there. So he is cruising around. Jonathan Brown, the young Irishman, will start at the tail of the field in 16th. Watch for him to work his way forward. Ricardo Escoto was able to get through as well. So the drivers collected collaterally at the end are able to continue. But let's reset now. Miles Rowe, nicely through turn number 1 as your leader. Chase Denmark from the outside of turn number, the row number 2, jetted around the outside of Michael D'Orlando and Jordan Miss. A great job for him. You see the damage there. Drivers out of their cars. Looks like just the left front damage there for Grand Force, but nonetheless, that'll be enough to retire him for the race. So D'Orlando slots into 3rd. Christian Brooks, who started 5th, he'll take advantage of a spot, move to 4th. Liram Zendelli, who started 6th, he'll go up to 5th spot. Jordan Missing outside of the front row. He's the one that got caught up. He goes back to P6. Francesco Pizzi in 7th. Salvador De Alba started 11th. He'll take 3 spots. He moves to 8th. Kiko Porto to 9th. And Bajoy Garg rounding out the top 10. Yuven Sudner the 11th. Jack William Miller in 12th. Nicholas Montiero 13th. Lindsey Brewer 14th. Ricardo Escoto 15th. And Jonathan Brown rounding up the 16 drivers who remain on the field.
Some of those drivers who were beneficiaries of the carnage, I'm thinking Sundaramurthy, Miller, Montero, and even Lindsey Brewer, they picked up 4 and 5 positions. This is going to be a really good opportunity for them to show what they can do. Started deep in the field, but now they've been kind of gifted a number of positions. Let's see what else they can do to try to move themselves forward and maybe grab a top 10 out of this.
You know, I think when you have an issue like that in qualifying, you might not be there. That's kind of the strategy. We talk about when you're running up front, you know, where Mac was in his races. If you're in the first couple of rows, first 3 rows, you know, you're on the attack mode still, right? The best place to overtake is the opening, the opening lap when you guys are side by side. That's when you can make moves. If you're back there in like 16th, 17th, 18th, you're off the throttle coming into turn lane 1 because you know something's happening. You're going to be able to kind of work your way through, and that's what Brewer, Montero, Miller, and Sudner were able to do, kind of clean themselves through. Mac, you know that. If you're up front, it's a much different mindset if you're further back in the field.
When you start up front, you're definitely more aggressive. It's about getting those positions on the first few laps because it really can make a difference, within your race over the period of time. People say you can't win the race in the first few laps, and that is true to an extent, but it definitely can help. When you start more in the back, I think it's more of a conservative approach. You get through those first few corners, keep your nose clean, and then you work on passing people from there.
Listen, it's an easy buzz phrase, right? You always say that. You ever hear every announcer will say it, every team owner, every coach will tell you, you can't win the race in the opening corner, but you sure can lose the race, but you can make a lot of spots up. And again, we don't talk about that when a guy goes from 5th to 2nd, or in the case of Denmark, he ends up going 4th to 2nd. Now he's got himself P2. He'll be on the gearbox of his teammate. So although he didn't take the lead, didn't win the race in turn number 1, there's an opportunity for Denmark getting by 2 very fast drivers as well, and Jordan Missing and Michael D'Orlando. So again, we'll see the safety car continue onto the racetrack right now. The AMR IndyCar safety team doing a tremendous job to get those cars off the racetrack. They did a great job in Mac's race to get us with 1 green flag lap at the end. Mac would probably have liked that not to happen. He would have finished 3rd because the chaos at the end dropped him deeper in the field after he got hit from behind going into turn number 3 on that last lap. But nonetheless, they've got us ideally back to green flag racing, Todd, here in just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, they look to be removing those vehicles from that issue coming out of corner number 1, so hopefully the cleanup pretty quick. 22 laps to go as they continue to circulate around single file, and we'll watch and see. And yes, the pace vehicle is headed for pit road.
Always good to see the pace car get a little bit of throttle coming into 8, making sure he stays the driver's left coming into pit lane. Otherwise, it's back in the hands of Miles Rowe. We'll put 4 down when we come back through. Lots of racing still to come as we are underway for a 25-lapper here for the drivers as they'll work their way out of turn 11, Miles Rowe. Now, will he get challenged by his teammate Denmark? He does not. Big move back, little block down to the bottom there for Christian Brooks as he tries to hold off Liram Zendelli. So Brooks, a little early entry into the corner. Further back, Yuven Sudner alongside Bajoy Garg, thinking about a run. Jack William Miller right there as well in the red and white Miller Vinatieri machine. But here comes Denmark. He's going to make a move to the outside. Rowe going to low line it down into turn number 3. Denmark going to try the run around the outside. Hard to make it stick there, but Rowe goes a bit wide on the entry. Do we see as they come back up the hill? We don't. Is there a driver there without a wing potentially? I thought we might have saw some damage. Yeah, there's a driver without a wing. I think it might be Denmark. Chase Denmark, I think, has lost the front wing. That naked front nose on the car will be trouble for him. He's going to try to hold on as long as he can here and hope for a yellow flag, because without that front wing, the balance of that car is going to go off. That car's not going to plant every time into the corner. He's going to have that kind of mid-corner understeer. Tough for him for sure. Indeed, right to the pit lane. Matt Clark, how hard is it to drive a car without a front wing?
It's almost impossible, especially in the USF Pro Championships, as competitive as the field is. When you lose that front element, it makes it very difficult to stay fast.
And more downforce on these cars. Only about 170 pounds of downforce, I believe, on the USF 2000 cars. I had mentioned more of everything for this category, so more downforce means even more balance loss if you've lost the front wing.
On the USF Pro 2000 cars, we're looking at a second element there on the front wing, so definitely that's a super impactful loss, I guess, for Jace Denmark.
So Denmark tough as he was trying to go to the outside. I have a feeling he went to the outside. I think Rowe might have pushed through. We didn't get a good look at it, but I have a feeling the Rowe pushed a little wide and probably just kind of grabbed it with his left rear. So tough for Jace Denmark. It's been a very up and down run for him, but he's shown great speed throughout the entire weekend. So young Jace will go to the tail of the field. That crew doing whatever they can to get that wing potentially back on. Can they get it done to get him back out in time? It'll be a tall ask for the team from Pabst Racing. Nonetheless, Rowe is your leader. That gives Michael D'Orlando an opportunity to go back into second. There he is, P2. Here is third, fourth, and fifth. Brooks, Zendelli, and Missig, as again, Denmark still into pit lane. Again, for Michael D'Orlando, pushing so hard. He had a really rough start to the season. It got him way back in the championship, Todd, because the guy that came out of the gate so well was Miles Rowe. He won 3 of the first 4 races. The one he didn't win, he was on the podium. So this point lead that he amassed early, he's really just been able to hold on to. Only a couple of bad finishes. Otherwise, he's been a top 5, top 10 guy all year long.
Had a bit of a struggle yesterday after we had the changing conditions and kind of went off in corner number 3, cost him a bunch of positions. But with a significant lead in the championship, it wasn't a tragic swing in terms of points. Michael D'Orlando, the beneficiary. Rowe starts out front today. We do have consistent dry conditions, it appears. So now he's just going to manage, I think, this race.
Yeah, to be honest, in his mindset right now, we still have, unlike USF 2000, where all we have left is a triple header at Portland, still to come, only 3 more races in that category. We have 5 races still because these drivers in the USF Pro 2000 category will run alongside our USF Junior Series at the Circuit of the Americas at the end of August. So there's lots more racing still for Rowe, but again, he's looking at a guy chasing him right now, Michael D'Orlando, who's back in 4th place in points. He's not the primary challenger. That was Joel Grandforce, who's now going to finish 17th. So Rowe's going to see that point lead even push forward. There will be an opportunity for the young American to potentially lock things down when we get to Austin in late August. 6 laps down, make it 7 when they come back across. The margin now for Rowe up front, 1.2 seconds over D'Orlando. Christian Brooks having a really strong run after a little difficult race in the opening run of the doubleheader. He's up into 3rd spot. Again, a winner earlier this year in St. Petersburg. He runs 3rd. Zendelli and Missig there as well. Salvador de Alba, who started 11th, second yesterday. He's up into the 6th spot. Right now, things kind of settling down, unless you look further back there with Porto and Pizzi going at it. That would be for P7. Yeah, it looks like Porto making the move to the inside into turn number 3. Jack William Miller trying to get by Bajoy Garg as well. So lots of great racing. In fact, that's, I believe, Jonathan Brown going at it. So Garg, Miller, and Brown fighting it out for 10th, 11th, and 12th. And Porto, I think, Todd, getting by Pizzi for P7.
Yeah, there's some good action in the middle of this field. The front runners have a second or two between them, but from about 5th through 8th, it is a nose-to-tail fight for position between Missig, De Alba, Pizzi, Porto, and look at Yuvan Sundaramurthy, who's also climbed in there.
I'm going to say this. He's had a rough season so far. And again, this is a guy that's won multiple USF 2000 races on the way up the ranks. He just has not had a great season, but fighting there between the 2 D-Force drivers. Porto running 8th, Sundaramurthy in 9th, and Bajoy Garg in the 10th spot. So a top 10, I think, would be a positive end of the season or the weekend here for Yuvan Sundaramurthy, as he is running very strongly. The young Indian-American driver who goes to the University of Wisconsin. Part of the Formula SAE program there. Sundaramurthy out of Delafield. Again, a multi-time winner in USF 2000. Battling it out there with Kiko Porto, the former champion in the USF 2000 category. But here we have a potential battle up front. There is no quit in Michael D'Orlando. Todd, he has rolled up onto the gearbox of Miles Rowe.
Suddenly, the lead is less than a second for Miles Rowe ahead of Michael D'Orlando, the championship winner in the USF 2000 series, and took the scholarship up to the USF Pro 2000 series, and he is trying to reel in Miles Rowe. If nothing else, a sweep of the weekend would look very nice on his record this year.
Indeed, like I said, 3 wins in the last 3 race weekends for D'Orlando. Matt Clark, you know the livery on that car, very similar to yours. Obviously, D'Orlando winning the scholarship last year in USF 2000, so the special livery for the scholarship winner. You have that on your USF 2000 car for DeForest Racing. What does it mean to be able to have, number one, the scholarship's big for your career, but to run that kind of iconic livery?
It is a bit of a special feeling. I mean, the USF Pro Championships is such a good job. The fact that we have a scholarship at each level awarded to the champion, it's really rewarding to these young drivers that do end up winning championships, and it helps because, as we all know, racing is a very expensive sport.
It is, yep.
It's a big help to us. So it's definitely a privilege, and you got to make sure that you're always keeping it tidy and representing that scholarship.
So let's flip the switch down, go into the mindset of Michael D'Orlando. You've been in the chase position before, where you've had to chase a driver down, try to force that mistake. What are you doing? What's your mindset? Are you trying to hit your marks? Are you trying to stay in the mirrors? Are you maybe taking different lines to make sure that driver knows you're there?
Maybe a bit of a cheeky peek in the mirrors every once in a while, but Michael's doing a really good job right now. You can tell he's been fast all weekend. He's really going to try to put that pressure on Miles as much as he can.
One thing we talk about in these cars, again, more downforce on these cars, so the aero wash when you get close to it. A track like Mid-Ohio where you have the keyhole, when you're right up on top of somebody, you lose the air off the wing, you get that mid-corner understeer. Are there any major parts of this racetrack where aero wash plays more a part than other parts?
The longer corners are typically when you get that aero wash. Yep. So I'd say turn 6, definitely here on streets of Toronto. Right. That would be the one that would be, the worst for Michael right now. But he does have that long back straight to kind of compensate for it, right? The draft down there is pretty powerful.
That's it. And when you have that, you take maybe a little bit different line to try to keep that air coming over the front wing.
Yeah, maybe a half car wider, or maybe a half car inside. Get a little cleaner on the wing, try to get that front to really grip.
Just a half a second now, the lead for Miles Rowe. Michael D'Orlando putting that pressure on like Matt Clark has told us. There it is, a little inside run there. Just a cheeky peek, as you said. I like that. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to use that one moving forward. Rowe, D'Orlando, Brooks, Zendelli, and Missing your top 5. It looks to be like Rowe with rather Brooks with some room there now. But look at Zendelli. He's getting challenged big time by Jordan Missing. I mentioned how good he was here at Toronto last year. I was able to make a move onto the podium, although didn't get that spot after a penalty for some contact, but nonetheless Missing has been good here at Toronto, and he is hounding the German right now as they work their way through 8. Look at that. Yeah, Missing's all over him to the point. Will we see a move into 1? Will we see a move potentially into turn number 3? Jordan Missing, the Illinois driver, looking to get himself up onto the podium here. He'll have to get a couple more drivers, but Zendelli would be the first on the hit list for the young American Missing. They'll work their way down here. Does he make the move in 1? Not close enough. But again, as we've talked about so much, turn 1 key to turn number 3. That's what it's all about, Mac, getting that run out of 1 to be able to get down into turn 3.
You have to make sure that run out of 1's really solid if you want to try to make something happen down into turn 3. And turn 3 is unique here because you can make it happen on the outside or the inside of the racetrack.
Indeed, we've talked about that. Yeah, if you get to the outside, you can pitch that driver down. As long as you're about a length ahead, you can't be just side by side. That driver will push you out at the apex. You got to be a little bit ahead to make the pass there. And I love what D'Orlando's doing right now, Todd, though, up front. He's keeping that pressure on. Relentless would be a word I would use.
He wants to keep the pressure on, but he has to remember we're not even at the halfway point in this race yet. You want to use this time, I suspect, Mac, to try to learn where you're better, in which corners you might be a little bit better than your competitors, where the opportunity to pass might be, whether it's corner 1 is better for you or whether it's going to be corner 3.
Gathering that information is definitely key. You kind of want to take your time, have a logical approach to this. And it's almost like a stakeout. You want to see where you're a little bit better than Miles, where he's better than you from Michael right now. And it's about being smart and being patient because he knows he has the pace.
Here's another question, Mac. And I know it's hard to ask you right now. You're going to have to go back really to, I think, the practice session and qualifying session from Friday is asking about tire degradation because you guys really didn't have a chance to have any, right? You guys started on wets and then went to dries and then a full wet race earlier today. Based on your experience from practice and qualifying on Friday, do you think these guys are going to deal with some tire deg at the end of 25 laps?
I mean, Cooper does a great job providing us with a really good race tire here for the USF Pro Championships, but I think, there's a lot of horsepower on these USF Pro 2000 cars, and as we see, like lap 15, lap 16, those later laps start to tick away, I think they'll start to struggle a little bit with their rear grip, and it'll get significantly slower.
And once you start struggling with grip, the drivers who are able to handle do better. Those that don't potentially could fall a little bit backwards, and guys will start going on the attack. We are now closing in on the halfway point. When they come back around, that'll be 13 down, 12 to go. We'll be at the halfway point this time after an early yellow for the contact between Joel Grandforce and Christian Weir. In the exit of turn number 1, Lucas St. Jean caught up in the action as well. So 3 drivers out of the race, not turning a lap. Jace Denmark, we know he had issues. He was able to get back onto the racetrack, although 3 laps down. Ricardo Scotto was in the pit lane. He came back out as well. He was involved in that incident in turn number 1. He currently runs 15th. So now you had this fantastic battle lining up for the final position on the podium, because remember that gap that Christian Brooks had just a couple laps ago? Say goodbye to that. It's Brooks, Zendelli, and Missig. We'll pick them up coming down the back straightaway. That's the fight for the final position on the podium. Leaders have stretched out to over almost 2 full seconds from D'Orlando back to Brooks. Here's the move. Zendelli looking up the inside. Here around the outside comes Missig. Another cheeky peek to the inside of turn number 3 for Zendelli. Brooks, Todd, getting absolutely hounded.
It is a 3-way fight for the final podium spot, potentially between Brooks, Zendelli, and Missig. Brooks trying to pull out a little bit of room as they come around through corner number 6 and then on the back part of the course. But, Mac, tell me, too, how does it change your approach when you've got 3 cars fighting for that one final podium position, than whether it's strictly a head-to-head battle between you and another competitor?
As a driver, you definitely have to make sure your level of awareness is very high. When you have that 3-car situation kind of brewing, you want to make sure that you know where those 2 other guys are at all times, because sometimes it can catch you a little off guard.
Yeah, you find yourself maybe making a move, and the guy behind you is right there. You could lose a spot. Now, we always talk about the fact that if you don't have somebody behind you, you're on full offensive. The minute you have a guy behind you, some of that percentage is thinking about being defensive as well, and that usually plays out well for the driver at the front of that trio of drivers, because then he's not getting fully hounded on by the driver behind. That's the case for Zendelli right now, because Jordan Missig has been pushing him all race long. Zendelli, again, just a look to the inside. Here goes a potentially inside move. Oh, I like the fact that Missig trying to do the same, but a crisscross like that, you never know what could happen to a front wing when you get too deep into a corner. So Missig getting aggressive as well, and I wonder whether or not he's potentially getting a little frustrated too. Let's talk about that, Max. Sometimes you have a faster car, a track like this, a track position facility where, you know, if you're starting up front, you're probably going to finish up front. There are overtaking opportunities, but not a ton of them. What do you do when you start getting frustrated? If you're let's say you're Missig here, you know you're faster than both guys up front. How do you keep yourself calm and not overdrive the car?
Keeping a cool head is definitely important in the race car at all times. And it sounds silly, but sometimes a deep breath helps.
Yep.
Just kind of a reset. You know, the team will remind you, listen, you're fast. They can see it. He can see it. He just needs to be patient, make his moves at the right time, and he'll get these 2 guys.
I was going to be asking that. How crucial is it to have the guy on the radio? Who is on your radio? Do you have a coach, a spotter? Is it your engineer? Who's on the radio for you, and how crucial is what they're saying and the calmness of what they're saying keeping you focused?
Typically, it's 2 voices in my ear.
Okay.
It's Carlos Pena, my race engineer, as well as Mateus Slice, former NTT IndyCar Series driver, so that's invaluable information.
There it is. Lots of info. It all happened right there, side by side, as Zendelli able to get to the inside at turn number 3. Missig trying to capitalize as well as he's on the outside. Hold on here, coming through turn 5. Zendelli goes to 3rd, and right where Mac and I are talking about the radio, it happened. Zendelli with the big move. He teased it a couple times to the inside, and I think Brooks maybe was able to get back by there. Indeed, he was. Jordan Missig did the over-under. This is bringing Salvador de Alba and Francesco Pizzi back into the fight, but Zendelli, who finished 3rd yesterday, now finds himself up to P3. Brooks, very luckily, holding on to P4 as it was an over-under, seeing it all happen. And it looked to me like Missig might be able to take over 4th, but didn't quite get cleanly through 5, and that allowed Brooks to go around the outside of him in 6th. So Zendelli now up into 3rd spot. Brooks is in 4th, Missig 5th, but here comes the Mexican Salvador de Alba for Exclusive Autosport, a winner earlier this year, as we talked about on the oval at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. 2nd yesterday. And I had a chance to do the track walk with Salvador on Thursday night, and he really meticulously went over this facility, and he is having a good right now as he's back, although 6th, with an opportunity to get up to P3. Rowe and D'Orlando, though, using the action behind them to pull 3.3 seconds up. We haven't seen it, Todd, but it's a 1.7-second lead for Rowe, putting down big laps to be able to work his way up front.
He has led right from the start of this USF Pro 2000 race, leading all 16 laps so far. But let's touch on, again, that nice move by Liam Zendelli. The rookie did keep his wits about him, as you were saying, Mac, just to manage that situation, because once you get through the inside of corner number 3, corner number 4 approaches very quickly, and if you were not in position, you could find yourself either giving that position back, you could find yourself brushed up against the wall, you're managing the pass that you've just completed, and don't forget there's a 3rd car in that mixture as well.
3, 4, 5 is a tight section there down at the end of our Lakeshore Boulevard, and you really have to make sure the car's in the right position. You don't want to be too close to the wall where you might hit it, but you do definitely have to be mindful of the space around you as well as what the drivers behind are doing.
A little shout out right now to Ricardo Escoto. I remember involved in that incident at the start of the race. He's 15th right now. I believe I think he's a lap down, maybe still the lead lap, but the fastest driver on the racetrack, a 1:10.25. Last time by, he was 6/10 quicker than Rowe. Escoto in the J. Howard driver development machine, the fastest driver on the racetrack, although, as I said, I believe potentially a lap down, waiting to see if he knocks it down lap number 17, but nonetheless, very good pace for him. Jace Denmark the same. They might have put some different tires on. That's a possibility as well. But Rowe, D'Orlando, Zendelli, Brooks, Missig, and D'Alba still your top running group here. Pizzi in the fight, too, from P7. He's into the scrap here. 17 laps down. We'll put 18 down this time by, so call it 7 laps to go on a 25-lapper. Rowe out to a 3-second lead. Zendelli was significantly quicker than D'Orlando. Does he have a trouble? Yeah, there's a pass for second. There's an issue here for D'Orlando as he's going back to third. Has he tapped a wall? What has happened for D'Orlando, Todd? He has fallen in through the order. Everybody there catching him up.
He is currently in third position, and whether or not he's going to be hang on to that is definitely in doubt because he is under attack from a swarm of cars from behind, and he is dropping positions as they head towards corner 3.
Yeah, dropping like a rock for D'Orlando. Not sure what happened there. So this scrap right now is for second and third. Zendelli up into second spot. I think Jordan Missig able to get by the run of the outside. Missig to P3. Great drive here for Jordan Missig. Up into third. Brooks runs in fourth. D'Alba now up into the 5th spot. 6th is still D'Orlando. 7th is Pizzi. But something wrong with the number 1 of Michael D'Orlando. Will not be another podium finish here today as D'Alba going after Brooks. He's on the defense mode now as well. Again, there is the number 1 of D'Orlando. He's got a big gap back, probably 4.5 seconds to Porto. Can he bring it home still with the lap times he has? I'm not sure what it is for the number 1 machine, whether he tapped the wall. That's a potential, to tap the wall here and bend something in the suspension. You could still drive it, Mac, but you're just not going to be able to drive it at 100%.
Definitely hard to extract the most out of the car when something's bent like that. It doesn't give you a lot of confidence as a driver.
That's very true. Yeah, you need confidence around this very tough racetrack. Big lead right now for Rowe. Remember, it was 3 seconds. Now it's 5.6. He's got this thing handled. The battle right now for second, third, and fourth. In fact, that looks like it's locked down a little bit. Zendelli's giving himself some room. Again, Missig running in third, Brooks in fourth, and D'Alba looking to cap off a strong weekend here with a couple of top 5. Second yesterday for the Mexican, now 5th. Pizzi in 6th, D'Orlando back into 7th. His lap time of 1:15.2. It's not going to last long here for D'Orlando. Whatever the issue is for that Turn 3 motorsport machine, he's likely going to find himself falling to Porto, Sundar Murthy, and Jack William Miller over the next couple of laps as well. It'll be 20 laps down when they come back around. Rose leads tremendous, and he's done this before, Todd, where he's had an issue in one race, come back in the next one with a big victory. Did it at Mid-Ohio as well. There's an opportunity for him here very closely to lock things down. Let's put it this way. We're likely going to see Miles Rowe in Indy next in 2024.
I would think. And yes, he takes redemption the next race very seriously. If he has a problem in race number 1, it's about making amends very quickly. I'm interested to see how we play out in these last few laps. Zendelli, Missig, Brooks, D'Alba, and even Francesco Pizzi also, those 5 cars, they sort of got strung out a little bit as they were moving around Michael D'Orlando. In fact, even Sundar Murthy has just gone around him now up to 8th spots, so D'Orlando down to 9th. I think the fight is going to continue right towards the end for these final couple of spots.
Yeah, D'Orlando's about 4 or 5 seconds off the pace. There's something significantly wrong with the car. I think he's simply just trying to kind of bring himself home. There he is through turn number 3. He's got all those drivers coming behind him right now trying to find a way by. Garg, Brown, Jack William Miller, I believe, there as well. So, yeah, D'Orlando's following. It's tough for him. He's in fact, Miller's already through, but Jack William Miller's lost a front wing. So Miller has lost the front wing. Watch for him to come through here. Wait on this shot. We'll see him. He's going to the red number 40. Something happened for Jack William Miller. That thing is not going to transition either. Watch for him to fall. Garg and Brown potentially able to work their way forward. Here they come as they wade through. There's still trouble there. And there's Jack William Miller with no front wing. And he's got, I believe, is that Montiero potentially on him now. So trouble for a couple of drivers here. D'Orlando, though, dropping like a rock, as we said. Tough one for the guy who was able to score the race win yesterday.
Miles Rowe with with the big lead out in front of better than 5 seconds. And now I guess maybe Salvador de Alba is probably the best battle right now for Christian Brooks, who is currently running in fourth. Zendelli and Missig seem to be in pretty good order with about a second between them for the second and third spot. Christian Brooks, though, and Salvador de Alba in a pretty tight fight.
If you're watching from around the racetrack and enjoying seeing the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series on display here at the Honda Indy Toronto, make sure to download the USF Pro Championships app if you have that on your phone. All of our live races are on the phone. Our new mini documentary called The Climb, brought to you by Discount Tire. Great way to watch those short, 8 to 12-minute documentary shows. Great insight into the paddock and all the drivers we have as part of the program. Live timings on there as well. My USF Pro Insider podcast available on the app as well. Perfect way to follow all the action as these drivers work their way towards IndyCar. And again, download that app. It's free in, of course, Google Play or the Apple Store for your mobile device. You can also follow all the action on the YouTube channel as well. Again, big shout out to Cooper Tires, Discount Tire, VP Racing Fuels, to Skip Barber Racing School, the official school of the USF Pro Championships. They're providing a $100,000 scholarship for their champion this year to move into the USF Juniors program. 3 laps to go for Miles Rowe. The gap now 4.7. I think he might have breathed off the throttle a little bit there.
Yeah,
Todd.
he definitely gave up 4 or 5 tenths on that lap around. But again, he's got such a big lead that he can manage himself. But Mac, being out front, the other part of it is the mentality of, yes, you want to not be too aggressive, not to push it, but if you also can't back off too much because you may lose focus as we're watching another battle.
Yeah, I believe this is the battle right now between Kiko Porto and Yuvan Sundaramoorthy. They have a big gap back to Bajoy Garg, so this is actually for 7th spot. Yuvan has been in the mirrors like crazy on Porto, trying to get by. Both these drivers, former USF 2000 race winners, they run 7th and 8th right now, a couple laps to go. Sundaramoorthy looking for a strong weekend here to try to bounce back from what's been a rough season thus far. He's having a great run. That's a good battle right now for 7th and 8th. You guys can go back to your thoughts.
Okay, Matt, go ahead. Out in front of the field, 4.6 second lead right now, and still Rowe has a couple of tenths rather that he's eased off the pace. You want to maintain a little bit of pace, but you can let off the throttle a bit early.
Yeah, for Miles at this point, it doesn't matter, how much he wins by. It is a little strange as a racing driver sometimes to breathe off that throttle because, like you said, losing focus is a real thing when you're not pushing 100%. It's kind of a strange feeling.
How many times have you seen a driver do that, leading a race and just kind of backing off from 100% down to 90%, and they miss an apex or they miss a braking zone because, number one, these cars like to be driven 100%. The faster you go, the better the aerodynamic works, right? That for sure. And as a race driver, Mac, when you guys are on the ragged edge, you guys are totally focused. The minute you break that focus is when you can make a mistake, and it's not hard to do it around here. You drop get a little wide in the corner, hammer a left rear, your day's done.
The streets of Toronto are not forgiving, Rob. Concrete walls everywhere, and one mistake can end your day very quickly.
Big slide there coming through as well for, I believe, Christian Brooks. Wow, that might have actually been Zendelli, who four-wheel slid it through turn number 11. That was close to disaster for the German, as Missig pushing back there as well. De Alba still running. Last lap of a 25-lap race for the drivers here in USF Pro 2000. Rowe 4.2 seconds up, but we're not done yet. Zendelli pushing hard to keep Missig at bay. And what are we going to have? Brooks is going to go down the inside, look further back. Brooks to the bottom of the racetrack. Does he handle it correctly? De Alba's going to try to do the over-under coming out of the corner. Right back on the gearbox. That's for P4. Right there as well is Pizzi in 6th, as De Alba putting all the pressure on Christian Brooks in the number 44. 4.2 seconds up the road, though, for Miles Rowe. The point leader coming in will go through turn number 8. Not a great run yesterday after pushing off the track in those wet conditions, but today, redemption once again. The young driver from Brooklyn, New York, future star of the NTT IndyCar Series for certain. Out of the final corner, another win for the driver here for Pabst Racing and Force Indy. Miles Rowe winning on the streets of Toronto. Race number 2 here on Sunday. Rowe wins the margin at the line, 4.4 seconds. Liram Zendelli into the second spot. Pabst Racing with 2 drivers on the podium. A great drive for Jordan Missig. He finishes 3rd. Christian Brooks able to hold off a relentless Salvador de Alba for 4th. Good job for Brooks to work his way from deeper in the field. Started down in, I believe, he started 5th. It was 13th yesterday, 4th from 5th today. De Alba able to work his way up. He started 11th, so a really good run forward for Salvador De Alba. Francesco Pizzi ends up in 6th. Kiko Porto 7th. Yuven Sundaramurthy from 16th up to 8th. Split the difference for the Indian-American driver, working his way to 8th. Great drive for Yuven. Bajoy Garg ends up at 9th, and Jonathan Brown, who got collected in that initial incident, fought his way back forward to P10. That was a wild one for sure. Michael D'Orlando yet to finish 14th in the order for the driver who was trying to fight his way back into the championship.
It's a heck of a battle for Christian Brooks, De Alba, and Pizzi right to the checkered line. They were nose to tail coming out of 11, and it wasn't decided until they crossed the stripe.
So incident early there, Matt Clark. Otherwise, the driver's able to get to the end nicely. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure you'd rather be in the race car, but always a good time to be in the booth as well.
Pleasure to be in the booth with you both. Thank you, Rob.
Got lots of great people. Let's give you the opportunity to thank who you want to thank today and maybe get people to follow you here in Canada on social media.
It's nice being the hometown boy this weekend, but massive shout out to D-Force Racing. They're my rock. They always have my back to prepare me a fast race car. We have 4 big partners on board this year: Klubine Motorsports, Valkyrie AI, Actuary Risk Management, and TNG Exotics. They're a large reason why we're on track in 2023.
Follow him on social media, folks. Matt Clark, thank you so much for joining us. And here is Miles Rowe, another win here that essentially extends that lead even more in the championship. It seems to happen every weekend. Those that are trying to battle him kind of fall by the wayside. He has an issue here or there, but the consistency, coming back again for a win in the second run, and it continues, Todd, to pull away in this championship battle. The steering wheel will come off, and here comes the celebration. I expect the traditional bow out of Miles Rowe when he gets back out here. We've watched him come through USF 2000. And there it is, Miles Rowe, ladies and gentlemen. Big victory there. And again, cementing an opportunity to win a championship when we get to Portland on Labor Day weekend.
Isn't that what we all seek? When we have troubles on Saturday, we look for redemption on Sunday, and Miles Rowe has achieved it here on the streets of Toronto. Winner today in the USF Pro 2000.
And his team owner, Augie Paps from Paps Racing, his teammate, Jordan Missigan there as well. Augie Paps looking to the opportunity to win both championships in USF 2000 and USF Pro. Both his drivers, Simon Sykes and Miles Rowe, coming up big here this weekend, extending their championship leads, heading, again, like I said, this category, USF 2000, Pro 2000, going Dakota, then Portland to cap things off. Those of you tuning in live here, folks, on the USF Pro Championships app or YouTube channel, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll have our Victory Lane celebrations.
All right, Rob Howden will rejoin us momentarily from Victory Lane. We'll see the championship trophies presented. We're set for
All we have left from this thrilling weekend here on the streets of Toronto in the USF Pro Championships is the Pro 2000 podium. After that, all eyes look forward to Road America when the drivers on the very first rung of this ladder program, USF Juniors, head to that fantastic racetrack in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Full coverage, as always, on the USF Pro Championships app and YouTube channel.
Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper and Duramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Todd, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Back down here in Victory Podium here for the drivers to cap off this Cooper Tires Grand Prix of Toronto. And what a race that was. An issue early, the wreck in turn number 1. After that, these drivers went at it for 25 laps. We've got some of our guests from Cooper Tires and Goodyear with us here today to help out, pass out some hardware. Let's start with the driver coming home in third. Great run here in Toronto last year, but man, he turned it on here today. P3 for Pabst Racing. A round of applause for Jordan Missing. Will Fisher will bring a trophy in here for Jordan. What a run. That was a epic battle. That fight behind the front 2 drivers was strong all race long. And Jordan Missing coming home with a well-deserved third-place finish here today. A strong run overall for Jordan. Good to have him up here on the podium. Third place yesterday for this driver from TJ Speed. Great drive today as well. Was scrapping all the way through from TJ Speed, as I said. Second place, Liram Zendelli. See done, Liram. Jeff Sherwood, again, one of our guests from Cooper Tires and Goodyear, will come over here to present him with his second place trophy. Well done for Liram Zendelli. A couple of podiums for that TJ Speed team. And again, showing the pace that driver has for sure. But again, as we've watched it throughout the season here, folks, the championship developing very quickly. We've followed his career up through USF 2000 here into pro. Big start to the season, but it's been the consistency through the summer that has made it happen. This is the driver now who has pulled his point lead even more, looking to try to win a championship in Portland. The winner today on the streets of Toronto. Give it up for Miles Rowe. Miles, one of the marks of a champion is to be able to come back from adversity. Yesterday, you led before the rain came. You went off in turn number 3, the first driver down there into treacherous conditions. But you come back after that disappointment from yesterday. How important is this win here today?
Yeah, first of all, I mean, the crowd here is amazing, guys. You guys are awesome. I love Toronto, man. Like, it's such a good city. I mean, such a tough race. You know, the bumps are crazy here. It's like New York City out there. But, yeah, I just got to give a huge thanks to God, you know, my family, Force Indy, Pabst Racing, you know, Simcraft, Sparco, Bell Helmets, the whole crew. They really, you know, put together such a package for us to have this kind of consistency this year. You have to have a certain kind of package in order to do, you know, really successful things in this level of motorsport. All these guys, Liram, Jordan, and the rest of the field, I mean, all of them are super competitive and super tough to beat. So I just can't say thank you enough to all of my partners.
You keep stretching the championship points. Are you thinking about that championship yet, or is it we're going to Austin, Texas, we're going to win more races?
Yeah, we're going to win more races, man. I mean, like, that's what we're here for, are we not? You know, we're here to play, and so I'm going to play until the game's over.
Congratulations. Get up on top. We got a trophy for you. Another win for Miles Rowe, ladies and gentlemen. And we are going to bring the president of Goodyear Canada, Mark Pillow, in here to help us out with that P1 trophy for Miles Rowe. Again, the point lead, getting to the extent where he may not be able to be overtaken. It's very close right now as he's really on a roll here now. Issue yesterday, as I said, but Miles Rowe coming back in that Force Indy Pabst Racing machine. And again, only 5 more races still to go here on the year as we'll head to the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas at the end of August, and Labor Day weekend at Portland International Raceway. Again, folks, these drivers are just 2 steps away from the NTT IndyCar Series. This is where Pato O'Ward was a couple of years ago. Kyle Kirkwood, David Malukas, Stingray Robb, all these talented drivers coming through this USF Pro Championship program of the USF Pro Championship presented by Cooper Tire. And these are the drivers, again, as I said, who you'll see at the NTT IndyCar Series, maybe in just 2 years' time. Miles Rowe in that number 99 for Pabst Racing, getting the job done here today. Out front, did not put a wheel wrong, was challenged aggressively by Michael D'Orlando early in the race until D'Orlando had some kind of an issue to fall through. That allowed Liram Zendelli to work his way up, and of course, Jordan Missing as well. What a great drive for Jordan. P3. And again, always exciting to see the talented drivers in this series. And we, as a series, really love what we're able to do when we come to these events, because we know we're developing drivers that you're going to see in IndyCar in years to come. And when the Honda Indy Toronto rolls out here, you can be guaranteed we're going to be cheering for guys like Kyle Kirkwood and Pato O'Ward and Stingray Robb and David Malukas, Arenas VK, a former champion in this USF Pro category as well. So these are our drivers. They come through this development program, and we always like to use the hockey references when we're here in Canada. It's kind of like Junior C, Junior B, and Junior A, if you will. Everybody trying to work their way up to IndyCar, the big show here of course, this weekend in Toronto. Always a pleasure to be north of the border. And, of course, the champagne will fly here momentarily. We've got our guests from Cooper and Goodyear having some fun up here on the podium as well. We know the NTT IndyCar Series race is coming. Yeah, they'll back that car out of the way because champagne's going to fly, folks. That's a traditional celebration here. And, again, 3 very talented young drivers, 2 Americans, 1 German who races under the Albanian flag. And we want to cap things off. It's been 4 great races here for the USF Pro Championships. Thank you, folks, for letting us be part of this tremendous event. Guys, it's time to have some fun. Grip it and rip it. Let's celebrate USF Pro 2000. Zendelli's going to spray by himself. Augie Pabst is getting it. The team owner is going to take some champagne. Zendelli's going after it. He knows how to get it done. One more time, folks, a round of applause for the top 3 drivers. Miles Rowe, your winner. Liram Zendelli second. Jordan Missig in third. On behalf of everyone from Anderson Promotions, Cooper Tires, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.